Hi, brothers and sisters. Hope you're good, and hope you're having a good week. Just wanted to share with you a few things. First, I want to talk about the greatest killer in the planet. It's not heart disease, not cancer, believe it or not. And wanted to talk about the discrepancy between the very rich north and very poor south. And I also wanted to touch a bit about the genetic mutation of the coronavirus. So we have like, let's say, 50, 60 million deaths a year. Half of those, or a bit more than half, it's due to conditions and diseases like heart disease, tuberculosis, cancer, smoking, alcohol, and so on. But none of these are the greatest killer. The greatest killer, believe it or not, is malnutrition. Malnutrition, it's the greatest killer because annually, we have like 11 million people lose their lives because of malnutrition. These 11 million people, of course, the majority of them, the greatest majority, is in the south, in the poor countries. And we're talking about another killers. I mean, we have like heart disease. It comes about 10 million people. The majority of them actually in the north. So it's very contradictable kind of statistics. So today we wanted to talk about the discrepancy as well between the north and south. Because if we're talking about malnutrition, we're talking about this, of course, we will talk about the health systems in these countries. In the north, they have in the west in general, they have a very good health system comparing to the south. In the south, some countries, they have health systems, they don't actually exist. So, for example, in a country like South Sudan, with 11 million people, they have only 9 ventilators for 10 million people, or about 11 million people. 9 ventilators. That means they have 9 intensive care units. So, and if we talk about tuberculosis kills 2 million people a year. Cholera still exists in some countries, like Yemen, for example. We're talking about deaths from road accidents, about 2 million or 3 million a year. But where all these deaths happens, where apart from heart disease and some certain condition which is associated with the way of Western life, the majority of those conditions and diseases are actually in the south part of the world. I don't know, we're not talking about ethics now, or what the West can do about it, or what the United Nations can do about it, or what the World Health Organization can do about it. But evidently, the West is not doing enough because they have all the money. And because we know that there is certain mechanism in which the West uses to control those countries. Supporting dictatorships, supporting the big companies, and nothing matter but stabilities in these countries, trade, and so on. No one really cares about the health of these nations. Even their own governments, they don't really care because they are totally corrupt. The other thing I want to talk about is the genetic mutation of the coronavirus. Of course, we're going back now, we're opening the country and we're going to go back to a normal life and so on. But I'm sure there are many COVIDiots, I call them COVIDiots, those people who don't really care if they gonna get the virus themselves or infect other people. They don't care about social distancing, about wearing a mask, or those we call them COVIDiots actually, and they are. And of course, all of us, we have to take care of that. And it's not about us. It's not about us healthy young people. It's about those elderly, the vulnerable, the people with underlying conditions, and so on. And we cannot stay homes forever, and we cannot leave. We have to go back to work, and we have to run the country because till we get vaccine and or medicine to cure this condition or this pandemic, which is coronavirus. So I wanted to touch for a little bit in the genetics of the coronavirus. Of course, the coronavirus have very simply has got a mechanism in which it has the ability to repair its genetic material. It has the ability to repair its RNA RNA material, and therefore the genetic mutation, it's very hard to happen for talking about coronavirus, of course. Unlike the flu, every year, for example, we need the jab for the flu. Every year people get infected yearly, having the flu every year, sometimes twice a year. Why? Because the flu virus has no mechanism to repair its RNA. Therefore, it keeps changing every season. And therefore, we get infected by it, and we cannot have the antibodies to deal with it. And for that reason, we need to change the vaccine every year for the flu, for the common influenza. If the coronavirus have the same mechanism and keep changing its RNA, we are in deep trouble, because we're gonna get infected by it again and again and again. We're not gonna have the antibodies to deal with it. And secondly, we have to we need so many vaccines. Every year we have to change a vaccine. We need a new vaccine and so on. But from the science that we have so far, and in accordance what we know so far, because we know so much about this virus, the science tells us that there is a mechanism that the coronavirus has to repair its RNA. Therefore, mutation is very unlikely. But certain mutations, even in a few letters or a few bases of the RNA, could change the virus totally, in a negative way, in a positive way. That depends. And I hope there is going to be a change in that, and the virus will go away. I mean, like other viruses, like the SARS in 2003 and the MERS in 2011. That's the genetic changes that happen to these, because the genetic changes, it happens all the time. Genetic changes, genetic mutation, it's the process of evolution, is the power that drives evolution by natural selection. So if genetic mutations keep happening, and they keep happening all the time to all organisms, I mean, to humans, to animals, and so on, to plants and so on. And that's how change happens. So we hope that some positive genetic mutation, it's positive to us, but not to the virus, because the virus is going to be, it's going to lose its strength, or it's going to use the ability to spread so quickly and so on. But it's positive for us, and we will meet soon, and I'll see you later, inshallah.